Hi, my name is Ehsan, and in this video I'm going to show you how to find ideas for research paper. As you know, I'm creating 31 videos on how to write a research paper, and this is video number 7 about how to find ideas for research paper. So I'm going to divide this into two parts. So one part is using the knowledge of your advisor or the PI, which stands for principal investigator, or you can read papers and find an idea. So I'm going to explain these two one by one. So the first one is, if you have an advisor, usually if you are doing a master degree or PhD, you do have it. If you are a bachelor student, you do not have an advisor. But you might, in the US, you can go and work as an undergrad research assistant, and that way you do have access to an advisor. And I'm going to divide this advisor to two sections. So one is internal and one is external. So internal, I mean the people who work with you directly, and I usually call this also dependent. So you have a direct access to these people. They might be in your PhD or master degree committee, or they are in your own department. So you have access to them. You can, go and talk to them. Or they are external and you do not necessarily have any connection, like direct connection with them. And you basically have done a collaboration with them. So for me, I have listed my own PhD committee here and the people who I worked with. And for the external, these are the people who I worked with them. I published some papers with them, but they are not from my university, or I just emailed them or asked them questions, or when I was reading research papers, I found there are something about their research that I can help them with. And I emailed them and they agreed to work on that project together. Again, here when you discuss something with these external people, you cannot say, oh, I'm working, let's say if I work at the University of Florida and then there is a research that I'm doing there, I cannot take that and go to another place and say, let's do a collaboration. There is a PI here, there is some conflict of interest or something here, so you cannot do that. Even if you publish a paper with an external without letting your advisor know, then you might get into trouble. So you cannot do that. But the way that I was doing that was, for some of these, I read their paper and I found something that I can help them with, and I suggested, hey, I can, work on this part of your paper, and the next paper that you have, I'm gonna write this portion of it, and they agreed to do that. All right. So this is the way I did it. I didn't use the money or the fund or anything related to the university that I was working at the time. So you have to keep that in your mind. I have seen some papers that got retracted just because the student, the PhD or the master student, didn't tell their advisor that they are doing that, and they went ahead and either they publish it on their own or they did some collaboration with someone else and they published the paper. Years later, the PI figured that out, and they retracted that paper. So keep that in mind. So these are some people. There are some of my friends that I worked with on some projects, some advisors from Turkey, India, that I even in the US that we did collaboration with each other. Here I'm showing some of the emails, like early emails that I was sending to these PIs back in 2009. My English was terrible. You can see from these emails. I'm not gonna read them for you. You can stop the video and read it on your own. So I was trying, at the time my English was not like really good, and I was trying to make some meaningful connection with these. I read their paper and they were doing some synthesis on a molecule, and I suggested that that I can do some computational study for you and write that portion of the paper. And they agreed, and we did collaboration. So yeah, that's how I did it. So the whole point of saying about like the external is you do not have to limit yourself to the people that you have direct access to. You can, when you start reading the papers, you might find some other PIs that working on a specific topic that you are interested. You can collaborate with them, send a cold email, and they might say no, they might even don't reply to your email, but there is a chance there, even if a couple of them tell you, yeah, let's do it, and you might have some ideas that you can work on and have a collaboration with them. The other thing is, the other part, this is the second part, is reading papers. By reading papers, you will get some ideas. So let's say I'm a chemistry student and I'm immersing myself into the field of chemistry. This field is very broad, but if I'm focusing on a specific reaction, let's say for me it was cope reaction, which was the center of the synthesis I was doing. If you laser focus on that and read the papers that are around that, then you will find some ideas, right? But you don't have to just go to the field of chemistry. What I was doing, I was also reading the biology papers, and then you can find some ways that you can link whatever you are doing into a biology space. So, and you don't have to even do it yourself. If you find a way that, let's say you find a molecule, you can synthesize it, but the molecule has some bioactive properties, then you can ask a biologist to do that research for you. So you don't have to learn it from the scratch. You can just collaborate with them. You can let your PI know, and then you can start a collaboration with them. Or there might be some other groups, they do computational study. You can tell them. The whole idea here in this slide is you can when you immerse yourself into the topic of interest, then something will click at some point when you read a lot of papers. By reading, you are gonna learn, and you are gonna find a way to come with a new idea. Or if you read papers in other disciplines, like in my case it's biology, which is like very close to chemistry, but whatever discipline you are in, you can find something that is very close to you and read some of their paper. Then that way you can find some ideas that is like between these two majors or disciplines. Now back to our own example. If you remember from the previous videos, I talked a lot about this apple that has two colors. So how this is an imaginary example, this is not real. Let's say I was reading some papers and I found there is a group of scientists at University of Florida. They did a research, and what they were able to manipulate the genetics of an apple and make a tree that has two different colors of that apple on the same branch. All right, so this sounds funny, I know, but this is just an example. And when I see that, I can think of it differently. Can I do the same thing on one apple? Can I create an apple with two colors on the same apple? So this is how the idea forms. Or they might have done a couple of steps to get here, right? Let's say they had to do 25 steps to get to this point that they can have two different colors of an apple on the same branch, right? If you can cut that to 10 steps, then you can do a paper on that, right? If there is a way to do that. Or if you can make that, let's say they have done some studies, but they haven't done whether this is like resistant in the cold weather, so you can do that study. Or if they have done in some of their steps, they have used, let's say, a catalyst, that the catalyst has some metal and it's not environmentally friendly, you can find a way to remove that step. and make it environmentally green, then you can publish that paper also. So this is how you get the idea. You have to immerse yourself into that topic. So the other way you can think of it is when you read that paper, usually they report some limitation. I say, oh, we did try this and it didn't work. So I would say you can also focus on that. Say, all right, this is the limitation they have. If I can find a way to remove that limitation or improve it, then I can also do a paper on that. So this is the way you can get the ideas, right? But you have to keep in mind there are some limitation in terms of the resources you have. So let's say you want to do some, in this case, the Apple, you want to do some study, but it does require an equipment that you don't have it. So that's a limitation, right? So you can't just work on your own. That's why you need to have a PI, and I think this is one of the things that you have to focus on when you get to grad school. Having a mentor or PI, an advisor, it's important. You can't do anything like all of the steps on your own. And like in the following slides, I'm going to show you why it's important. So it's important to have a PI because the advisor or PI that you have will give you the ideas, right? If you are one of his or her student, you can get the idea from them, and this is gonna expedite the steps to get to the paper. So that's one of the way. The other way is they have access to the funding, and they can purchase an equipment or the materials that you need for that research. They also do have access to other groups. They have a network, right? So they can, if you need to do something, let's say a collaboration between chemistry and biology, they can send an email to someone who is working in this field and start a conversation and do a collaboration. So that's another thing that they can do. The other thing is like having access to a lab, a research lab. So but there are some cases that you do not need to have access to the research lab, right? If you do some computational study that it just needs a computer or a software, then you don't need this one. But in general, you need to have a mentor. So this is how they can help you. In the next slide here, I'm gonna show you why. What are the parameters of having a sign actually? The signs of having a good mentor or advisor. So one of them is they publish research papers year after year. It's not like they do a publication once and then they don't publish paper for a few years and they publish one. So that's not to me that's not a good sign. The other thing is they think about their quality over time. Let's say in their early career, they might publish some papers in like low impact, I will talk about impact factor later, but let's say they publish some low quality, but the number of the paper it's a lot, but over time they might have less publications, let's say 1 or 2, but the quality of their publication is now higher. They publish into the most prestige journals out there. So that's something you keep in mind. The other thing is they in their group you feel that they give credits to everyone, and it's like a collaborative environment. It's not like if you go there you feel isolated and you don't feel you are part of a team. So I would say, yeah, and you feel that when you go to a research group, you will see and in this I just trust my gut. Like when I go there and see people like talking to each other, it's really important to see the culture of that group, right? And the other one is like the PI doesn't take all the credits of a research. They give the people that work on that group some kind of credit. Usually, like I have seen that when a PI presents, usually on their last slides, they have some slides like, and they thank their team members. They say, oh, let's say this person worked on this, and they give people credit. So if they do not do that, and if they most of the time they are the first author, they don't give the authors, the people who work on their lab, some sort of credit, then that's not also a good sign. So yeah, that's all I wanted to tell you, and this is the end of video number 7. In the next video, which is the one that I really liked, I'm gonna explain how to go from an idea all the way to a publication. So the road from idea to a publication, I will explain that. See you in the next one.